Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, I think we'll go ahead and get started, even though it's 1 minute till. That's all right. Anybody jumps on, we'll go from there. So welcome. We're going to talk today about how to accelerate your lead flow using paid marketing. We'll be talking about Google Ads. We'll also be talking about this new program they've rolled out over the last couple of years called local service ads. It's not quite into the insurance industry yet. It is into the financial planning industry. And so we'll talk through that just so you're aware of that. We'll also talk about retargeting, and then really what we want to do is help you maximize any paid ads that you're doing, in particular any pay-per-click. We want to help you get those costs down, conversions higher, so that you're getting a positive return on investment. So real quick introduction, if you've never met me before, my name's Carl Willis, and I'll let Thomas in here. And a little of my background, I've been marketing online since 1997. I am a former financial advisor, Series 6, 7, 63, 65, life, accident, and health, had my own firm for 12 years. The author of Internet Marketing for Small Business, creator of the Marketing Classroom, keynote speaker on business growth and lead generation, do that internationally, and known as a go-to expert for insurance agency digital marketing strategy. And then we work with agents throughout the U.S. A few of our agents, we work with both captive and independent agents. And so there's just a few of the folks that we work with. And also, this webinar is recorded, so we'll have a replay for you. Anything you miss, you can take notes again. So when we talk about paid advertising, this is really part of the bigger ecosystem that we use when we're talking about marketing. And so for an insurance agency, center of the universe is going to be your website. It's going to be your Google business profile, your foundation.
Will you bring my wallet, please?
If you could mute out real quick, somebody's not muted there. All right. And then you've got your pay-per-click. That's going to be the number 2 piece of that ecosystem. You've got retargeting, then your online paid directories. And then you also have your referrals, your repeat business, pay-per-lead, social media ads, and then any kind of in-house referral program you might be running. So let's talk about why paid search really should be part of your internet marketing strategy. There's a couple things you want to consider. Number one, it allows you to show up quickly. You can deploy that traffic as needed, when needed, to whatever geography needed. You're going to show up as often as possible in the places that your customers are looking. But then you're also going to show up for your non-geographically modified terms. And this is what I call your basic terms, your generic terms: car insurance, home insurance, life insurance, boat insurance, health insurance, etc. So what it's going to do is give you visibility for those very generic terms that are obviously a lot harder to rank for organically. And that's kind of the key here, is you're going to use your paid ads to help put extra top end on the places that you're already ranking. And you're also going to use that to help you gain visibility in the places you may not be ranking because they are overly competitive. And one of the things that we see happen a lot of times when you get into these more basic terms, you're going to have the larger companies that are showing up there. And so the individual agent sometimes a little harder to rank for. So paid ads is part of the way that you're going to get the visibility there. And then unlimited scalability. When this is dialed in correctly, there should be a positive return on investment. Ideally, if you put $1 out in paid advertising, you should be getting more than that $1 back. And ideally, what we want to see is we want to see multiples of that dollar spent being returned to you. And so that's going to be one of the keys of using your paid marketing is you want to see that positive ROI. Now, when we talk about paid search, I want to kind of give you this graphic here to give you a view of the greater universe of what's happening. So in your paid search, you've got up here kind of on the outer ring, you've got Google Ads, which most everybody's familiar with. You've got your local service ads. This is something that Google has rolled out over the last couple of years, where they offer actually a guarantee. It operates much like some of the other lead sources you might be familiar with. It is right now covering financial planning. So for some of you, that may be getting into your universe a little bit. So I wanted to make you aware of it because Google will continue to roll that out into more verticals in the days ahead. Then you have your retargeting. You also have Facebook ads, YouTube ads, TikTok ads. You have your paper lead directories and those things like in the service area, you've got Thumbtack, but you've got Yelp, you've got Nextdoor. In the service area, you have Angie's and Home Advisor, some of those types of things. And so when you talk about this universe, you've got your normal paid search, your paid social, your pay-per-lead vendors, and then in the middle, you've got retargeting and automation. So ideally, anytime we're driving leads from any of these sources, we want to bring them into a retargeting and automation platform so that we continue to stay with that consumer through their buying cycle. You have to realize that today a person is probably going to start that search here, and then they may follow it up on their laptop, desktop, tablet, whatever their preferred modality is. But they're also going to crisscross platforms. So that search may start on Google, but it may take them to Facebook, it may take them to YouTube, it may bring them back to Google. The average person is generally going to have 7 to 12 different interactions with you before they actually initiate the conversation. And so that's something to keep in mind as you're thinking through your overall marketing. Now let's look at sometimes the question that a person asks is, well, I have this much budget. Where are the best places for me to spend that? How should I be spending that budget in my marketing as I'm thinking through what my entire marketing process looks like? And so we've given you this foundational piece here, this pyramid. The base of that pyramid is your organic foundation. We always want to make sure that that's priority number one. Can people find you first and foremost? In the middle of that organic foundation is going to be your website and then your Google business profile. And just something to bring to mind is Google is moving towards what's called a no-click search result, meaning that the individual would get enough information from Google on the Google screen to never have to go to your website to do business with you. So that is the direction that search is going. So we want to make sure that's super solid. The Google business profile, your website really need to run concurrently with each other in parallel. And we want to make sure those are optimized. So if you're going to put money anywhere to begin with, there's where you want to go. If it's hard for the consumer to find you, you're going to lose that customer. Even today, I was talking with an agent that it took a lot of searching to find their website. I had to go through multiple redirects and social media channels to find them. If I were a consumer, I would have already given up. And so that's one of the things to keep in mind. From there, the next place that you would want to put budget would be your paid search. That's going to be your Google ads, your Bing ads. And then if you're doing financial planning, you can use the local service ads as well. From there, the next place you would maybe want to consider putting money in ad spend would be your paid directories, pay-per-lead programs. But there's a little caveat to that. You really want to make sure before you move to that level of the pyramid, you've got some automation in place with your lead flow. Are there follow-up messages being sent by email, by text? Do you have other mechanisms to really connect with that prospect immediately when they come into your marketing funnel? And then finally, any remaining is the branding side of things, and that's going to be your social ads, Facebook ads, TikTok, YouTube. And so this is the retargeting side of the equation. So one of the things that we always want to put in place when we're running paid ads is some type of retargeting mechanism. Now, you can retarget through Google. I actually like to retarget through Facebook because Facebook will hit Facebook, it'll hit Instagram, it'll hit mobile device traffic. If you've got somebody that's addicted to Candy Crush, they'll be interrupted with your ads while they're doing that. That's just a preference. You can retarget either way, and we'll talk about that more later in the presentation. And by the way, if you have any questions, feel free to put those in the chat, and I'll be happy to stop and readdress what you have there. But does this pyramid make sense to you? Understand SEO is your organic foundation, your website, your Google business profile. Then from there, you're going to want to move up into your paid searches. And so if that makes sense to you, drop a 1 in the comment for me, just so I make sure everybody's with me. Perfect. Now, this is going to be the foundation of everything we're going to get into today. So a couple of things, if there's anything you learned, if there's anything you noticed, if there's any aha moments, feel free to put those in the chat as well. More than anything, this is for your benefit. Some of what I present you may know. Some of this may be, wow, okay, that's something I haven't thought of. All right, so let's talk about local service ads. And you'll notice I'm using a plumbing and drain company here, mainly because local service ads are not applying to insurance agents yet. The broach into the universe is financial planning, but I want you to understand how these work because this is where Google is moving. And I anticipate in the days ahead, we will see local service ads for insurance agents and insurance related services. So what happens on a local service ad is when you pull search, you're going to see this search come up and it'll say Google guaranteed here at the bottom. And what that means is that business has been through a vetting process with Google. Google is guaranteeing that if you have a bad experience with that company or that provider, and it meets the criteria, they will guarantee the work up to $2,000. So that's become a popular thing. And what they're trying to do is they're trying to compete with things like Nextdoor, things like Angie's List, things of that nature, to where you can go and say, this is the service I'm looking for. They'll give you a list of pre-vetted vendors, and then they're charging those vendors for the leads. And that's exactly how local service ads work on Google. The company, as a company owner, you get set up, you put in your service area, your profile, your budget. When you close business, you mark those as booked jobs, you deal with disputes, and you drive verified reviews. Now, here's part of the reason I wanted to bring this up to you is not only is this the direction things are going, but this piece right here is critical. Verified reviews. So in your interactions with your customers right now, one of the things you need to really be thinking through is Google in particular is leaning towards an acronym that is called EAT. And EAT is 2 E's. So the first one is experience. The second one is expertise. The third one is authority. That's an A. And then T for trust. Well, the trust and the experience things are all driven by verified reviews. So when you have customers who are leaving reviews for you, you want to give them a little bit of coaching. Ask them to write a couple of sentences about the services that you provided to them, and the experience that they had with you. What Google is really looking to get away from is where I leave a review and I say, Sean's a great agent, serves everybody well, has a great team. Well, that doesn't mean that I've done business with you. Whereas if I say, I went to Sean because I needed help with my whatever vertical of insurance policy, he and his team were able to put together a great package for me. Now that shows experience and trust. And so be thinking about that as you're working on your Google reviews, your Facebook reviews. These engines are developing new programs to roll out to you as a business owner, but they're going to really be driven by these reviews, by customer satisfaction. And so that's the thing that's on the horizon for you. Not really going to apply to our conversation today unless you're doing financial planning. You could bring that into play, but it is what's on the horizon. I suspect in the next couple of years, you'll see it roll into the insurance industry as well, and it'll be something you can take advantage of. But we're not going to spend a lot of time on that just because that's kind of out there. I just wanted to make you aware of it. And I wanted to also bring home to you this idea of experience, expertise, authority, and trust. That those four words are going to be critical in everything you're doing moving forward. So now let's talk about Google Ads. And this is probably what you're going to be more familiar with. And here's why we want to talk about Google Ads, because we want to get maximum visibility every place that Google will allow us to have exposure. So when you think about your Google search result, you've got different components to that return. So I type in, I'm looking for auto insurance, Wichita, Kansas. I'm going to get my ads. I'm going to get the map listing, and the map listing also has ads. And then I'm going to have my organic results as well. And so part of what we want to do is make sure we maximize our exposure on Google. Most people understand that. That's why most people have tried Google Ads before at the very least. Go ahead and put a 1 in the comment box if you have tried Google Ads or you are currently running Google Ads, just so I kind of know where you're at. All right. Well, let's talk about when it comes to Google Ads, the reason why a lot of Google Ads campaigns fail. So one of the biggest complaints we hear is, I've tried Google Ads. I lost a lot of money with it. I'm not sure if I want to run Google Ads. And if that relates to you, that's understandable. Here's the reason why a lot of people fail at Google Ads, and I hope even this page here might be a difference maker for you. Number one, they simply fail to understand the Google Ads auction process and the complexity of the insurance industry. And so what I mean by that is oftentimes a business owner thinks they can put just some keywords out there, some basic keywords, life insurance, car insurance, health insurance, home insurance, put a bid, put a budget on it, set their geography, and flip the switch, and off it goes. Well, what happens is they fail to realize there's an auction process going on, that you are bidding against other advertisers who are bidding for that same audience. And there are ways that you can fine tune what you're doing to have a better advantage in that auction. One of the things to bear in mind, especially right now in the insurance industry, is because rates are up, because some insurers are no longer operating in certain states or they're pulling certain kinds of coverage, there are a lot of insurance buyers, a lot of insurance customers who are in motion right now. They are looking for new coverage. They are looking for better rates. They are looking for alternatives. And so they're doing a lot of searching. We're seeing the search volume in the advertising side up considerably in the last 6 months. And so the more you understand this auction process, who are you up against, the better off you are. Now, here's a little insight we're seeing from the data. The major carriers are actually scaling back on their advertising budgets in pay-per-click right now because they've had difficult financial years. So there's a unique opportunity. There are more households, more businesses in motion right now, but fewer advertising dollars chasing those individuals. And so for those who are willing to jump in and get aggressive, there's an opportunity for you right now that I haven't seen in a long time and probably won't see again. I think that cycle is probably going to continue for another 18 to 24 months just on what we're seeing and what we're hearing. So that's one thing you want to be aware of. And that's a little side nugget for you. The second thing is they only set up one ad group for all services. So they set up their campaign, they call it insurance, and then they're going after every conceivable term for insurance in that one campaign under one ad group without breaking up into ad groups. Another common mistake we see is that they're not using specific text ads and landing pages for groups of keywords. So as much as possible, you want to match up your keywords on your ad and the keywords on the landing page to match up to the keywords that would be in the search. So the thing we don't want to do, and this is what we often see, is I am searching for car insurance. And so I type in my search, your ad comes up, I click on it, and it takes me to your homepage. And from your homepage, I have to click to another page to get to car insurance. And then I have to click one more time to get to a contact form to actually contact you or a phone number to call you. So we've created 3 or 4 different clicks just to resolve my query. I'm looking for car insurance. So what we want to do is minimize the steps. The other thing that we want to do is if I'm looking at 2 ads, one says auto insurance quotes, and the other one says insurance in general, and I'm looking for car insurance, I'm going to go for the one that's discussing auto insurance quotes. It matches up to my intent. And that's part of what I want you to think about in your paid ads is, are you matching up to the intent of the person doing the search? And this brings us to the last thing. There's no strong call to action or offer on the landing page. And that's what I was saying. We hit your company website page, but there's nothing that gives me a call to action. It just tells me about who you are. There's nothing that says fill out the form to get a quote. There's nothing that says click to call us right now. There's no call to action on that page. So this is one of the common things we see, generic terms being pointed to yourcompanysite.com, but not to a specific page dealing with that unique service or that unique business line. If that makes sense, type a 1 in the chat for me. Fantastic. So be sure and take a note. If there's something you learned there with paid ads on Google, anything you noticed, any things you want to share for another time, definitely make note of that. So let's talk about, can you really drive a positive return on investment with PPC as an insurance agent? And so let's look at a couple of case studies here. These are just actual metrics from search campaigns. So in this particular campaign, the individual was spending $9,011.95 for the month. They generated 224 leads out of pay-per-click. Average cost per lead was $40.23. And so they're able to figure out, can they scale from there using those metrics? And so those are really critical numbers we always want to be paying attention to. What was your total investment And when I say investment, that's not just your ad spend. That's what are you paying the agency or the individual that is running those ads for you as well. So you want to combine all of that together. Here's another thing that we want to look at. We want to break that down. So if we had 224 total leads, and your conversion rate is 40%, so that's something else you want to be paying attention to. What is your rate of conversion? When you get a lead in, for every 10 leads you get, how many of those are becoming your customers? So let's say that conversion rate is 40%. That means you had 89 book jobs or new policies, new clients. If we put your average commission on that at $750, that puts you at $66,750. And then if we divide that by your total ad spend, that puts you at a 7 times return on investment, 7x. Another example, this one they spent $3,842.38, 237 leads from their pay-per-click campaign, putting the average cost per lead at $16.21. And so what you're going to be able to do when you know that average cost per lead, you know how much it's costing you to land a client, then you can figure out where can you scale, to what degree can you scale, what's the scalability. So we'll take a look at this one. 237 total leads, conversion rates 40%, 94 pieces of closed business with an average ticket of $550. So we bring it down a little bit, puts us at $51,700 in total revenue. And if we divide that by our ad spend, that's a 13x revenue return. So the key metrics you want to be paying attention to, if you're not tracking, you've got to start tracking. So a couple of things you want to be tracking: what's your total ad spend? And don't just include what you're paying Google or Facebook or Bing, but include what you're paying the individual or agency that's managing, so you're figuring that in. Then you want to look at the total number of leads. So you need some type of lead tracking mechanism. So we'll get into a couple of things that are critical for that I would recommend, so that you know how many leads did you actually get, whether that's form submissions, whether that's phone calls, whether that's direct messages, whatever your modalities of response are, we need to know how many of those leads were generated from that ad spend. And then be sure and write down any insights that you have. So here's where we really get into the magic. How do we maximize the ROI? What are the little tweaks, the little secret sauce adjustments that you want to make to get maximum performance out of those ad campaigns? So the first thing we want to talk about is just what we were discussing. You want to make sure you have conversion tracking some way, somehow. Figure out how you're going to do that. You want to break your campaign into smaller ad groups targeting the various services that you provide, so that your text ads are matching up with the individual that's searching. And so kind of think of it this way: we want to get a little bit microscopic in the way we do that. So when we set up ad campaigns for our clients, let's take car insurance. We're going to have an ad group that is car insurance, and then we're going to have an ad group that is auto insurance. We don't lump those together because we want to match up to what the person is searching. So if the person is searching for car insurance, then we want to match up with keywords that delineate car insurance. And then we have a separate ad group for auto insurance to match up to those searchers who are using auto as their trigger word. Make sure you have a good understanding of the match types. And so let's talk through that. When we're putting together campaigns, there are 3 types of matches you can do. You can do broad match, you can do phrase match, and you can do exact match. So broad match is I type in car insurance, and if I'm anywhere in the ballpark Google's going to fire the ad. But that could be things like car insurance claims, that could be car insurance roadside service, car insurance customer service numbers, car insurance refunds, car insurance bad drivers. There's nothing that modifies what that is. So if I want to get a little more precise, what I'm going to use is a phrase match. And in a phrase match, we're going to go for a phrase. So I'm looking for car insurance quotes. And so what I'm telling Google is that unless those words appear in the search query, don't fire the ad. But if you see anything that has car insurance quotes in it, fire the ad, even if there's more modifiers behind it. So it could be car insurance quotes, Wichita, Kansas, still fire the ad. And then there's exact match, where I am going to put in something a little more precise. Car insurance quotes, Wichita, Kansas. State Farm car insurance quotes. American Family car insurance quotes. So now I'm getting very precise. I'm telling Google I only want to show the ad to people who are using this exact terminology. Now, Google, trying to be super helpful these days, is using AI and saying, well, if it's close to that exact match, we still may show your ad. So that's where we have to focus on the negative keywords. In the search report every month, you're going to see the exact terms that your ad fired for, and if there were any clicks, if there were any phone calls, any of those types of things will be shown. So when you find a term that absolutely does not fit the intent of what you're advertising for, you have to put that into the negative keyword list. And what that does is it teaches the algorithm to disassociate that word from any ad display. And so, for example, a common one we see is car insurance claims. So if it's car insurance claims, I don't want to advertise for that. So I want to put that into the negative keyword list. So now it knows I'm not looking for that. I'm also going to take an extra step and put in the generic words claim, claims, claim number, file a claim, any of those types of things that are not sales oriented because they don't apply to what we're advertising for. So with the AI being quote unquote super helpful, the negative keywords become more critical, and those really grow pretty quickly. Typical campaign that we run for our clients, it is not uncommon to have 3, 4, 5,000 negative keywords where Google has been trying to display the ad on irrelevant terms or terms that don't show enough intent to really qualify. Behind that, you need to write compelling text ads that resonate with what your prospect typed in, and also to convince them to click on you versus your competition. Now, again, Google is moving towards a more AI-driven advertising platform. So the way the ads are put together now is what's called a responsive search ad. So you list multiple headlines, you list multiple descriptions, and then Google will mix and match those headlines and descriptions to see what performs best. And so one of the things you may want to do when you're creating these ads, you may even want to use some of the AI like ChatGPT to give you some headline options just to get a little more creative. And if you want more information on doing that, you can watch our last webinar on AI. That's on YouTube and Facebook. So you want to create those compelling text ads, make sure your headlines are good, make sure your descriptions are good, and then you want to leverage ad extensions. So Google is giving you some ad extension options that are really helpful. One of those is an image extension. So if you have a professional headshot that you're using, or you've got an image that really drives home the point of what it is you're trying to convey, those are great things for your image extensions. Biggest caveat with those, they can't have text on them. It just has to be an image. So especially for an agent where you are branding yourself by name, headshot's probably the best thing to do. Just make sure it's a good one, high resolution, good color, good lighting, all of those types of things. You also have call extensions where you can put a click to call number. So on any mobile ad, it will give the viewer the option to immediately press the button and call you direct. You have call out extensions where you can talk more about other services. You've got extensions that you can lead people to other services that you offer and take them to different landing pages. So make use of those ads that maximize all of the extensions available, that maximize all of the headlines and the descriptions. Are ads that typically are going to perform better because you're giving the consumer more information before they ever click your ad. Then the next piece of that is getting them to click the ad is the first part of the game. The second thing we've got to overcome is we got to get them to take action once they click the ad. And so we want to have people landing on well thought out pages that are built to convert. And I can't stress that enough. Make sure it's built to convert. Websites need to be pretty, yes, but more than anything, websites need to function. And so when I land on that page, I need to know what it is you want me to do. Do you want me to call you? Do you want me to fill out a form to request a quote? What is it you're asking me to do? And so take a look at your landing pages. Are they really built to convert? And if they're not, then do some reworking. Now, if you're a captive agent, obviously you're a little bit of a disadvantage because you can't control the layout of the page, but you sure can change up wording on the page. You can make your biography enticing. You can make sure that your team all has biographies on there. So make it as user-friendly and pointing to the conversion as much as possible, and give strong calls to action. Call now, submit the form for a quote today, get a quote now. Use very strong calls to actions because psychologically that will impact the prospect to take an action on the page. And then you want to continue to split test, tweak, and fine tune. Don't just set it and forget it with your ads. Keep looking to improve the performance as you go. If all of that makes sense, go ahead and put a 1 in the chat just so I know you're following along with me. Perfect. Now, let me re-emphasize this. Don't even think about spending another penny on your advertising until you have some conversion tracking in place. Otherwise, you're flying blind. And so make sure you've got a way to track what's going on. And if you're working with a vendor, ask them to make sure they've got appropriate tracking put in place for you. So let's talk about the essentials of conversion tracking. Again, some of you, if you're a captive agent, you may be a little limited in this, but I'm going to put this in front of you. Number one, use dynamic number swapping. What that means is you use a trackable phone number for your paid traffic. And ideally, you would have one for your organic traffic and for your paid traffic. And if you're using multiple traffic sources, you might actually have 3 or 4 numbers that you're using. So you know specifically when a call comes in, what the source was for that call. For our clients where we're doing tracking, we use a platform called CallRail, where we know who the caller was, we know what the number was, we know what time it came in, and the call is recorded. So we even know what was discussed in that conversation. When you have dynamic swapping, it's going to even let you tie back to the keyword in the campaign. So you can do that with Google Ads. You put a variable into the ad itself, and it will then track phone number and report that back to you. Web form tracking, you want to track those submissions, know where they came from, what the traffic source was, those types of things. And then the conversion tracking built into your Google AdWords campaign, you want to use that to determine which ad group was generating your leads. One of the things you'll set up in your Google AdWords is your conversion tracking. Is the conversion of form submission? Is the conversion of phone call? What is your conversion metric that you're wanting to track as you go? But make sure you have that in place, because that's what's going to tell you, are you running profitable campaigns or are you not running profitable campaigns? Too many agents that we meet are operating their paid ads using the force. If they feel the force, then, and it feels good, then they know they're making progress, and they feel like they're, getting more sales, they're getting more customers. We don't really want you to operate off feel. We want you to operate off data, because if the math is right, if your data is solid, for every dollar you're putting out, you're going to get multiples back in. Then you can do that all day, and you can scale that all day. And that's really the place we want you to be. So here's your most important key performance indicators: your total spend, your average cost per click, your average cost per lead, calls and web forms, and then your total return on investment. So those really are the four things that are of greatest importance to you. How much did you spend? What does that click cost you? What does the lead cost you? And what's your return on investment? So there's a little math to that, but you want to know those numbers. That way you know if you're overpaying for clicks, if you're overpaying for leads, if you can scale, if you need to make adjustments. Let the data be your guide in those decisions. And so the best way to do that is to have some kind of dashboard. There are many tracking programs that will give you this kind of information to where you can really follow your cost per lead. If you're working with a vendor, they should be able to help you do that as well. And if you can track your true ROI, even better, to where you know if it's coming from a referral, if it's coming from search engine optimization, if it's coming from a pay-per-click campaign, it's coming from social media, even better, because then you know what is your best performing source of client acquisition or customer acquisition. And then, of course, always know your numbers, know where you're at. What is your total revenues? What is it costing you to acquire a customer? What's the lifetime value of that customer? Those things will help you figure out scale, and they'll also help you figure out what's the best modality to go after those customers. And then you also, if you can break it down even further into your geographies, what zip codes are producing the most? What areas of your city are producing the most, or your county or your state, whatever region it is that you're working. So the more data you have, the more effective you're going to be, the better these campaigns are going to perform for you. And then your attribution sources: was this organic? Was it paid? Was it social? Was it referred? Was it a pay-per lead? All of those will be helpful to you. So when you're structuring your PPC campaign, you want to break it into smaller ad groups targeting the various services that you provide, so that your text ads are matching up to what the person has typed. And so I'm going to just give you some generals here. This is by no means a comprehensive list. But if you're branding yourself, then, auto insurance, home insurance, life insurance, business insurance, health insurance. But then if we're going after those specific lines of service, then we want to start to break that out. Auto insurance quote, auto insurance coverage, auto insurance bundle, auto insurance for teen drivers, auto insurance for safe drivers, wherever you want to expand that to. Home insurance the same way: home insurance quote, home insurance bundles, life insurance, final expense life insurance, guaranteed issue life, term life, whole life, universal life, business insurance, business liability, commercial auto, workman comp. So you want to break out and just expand that keyword or that ad group universe so you more closely match up to what the individual's searching. And so if we've got a prospect that's searching for business liability insurance, we don't want to just leave it under the big topic of business insurance, we really want to break that down to match up to what they're searching for. And this is kind of what the ad groups will look like inside your Google Ads dashboard. You're just going to break it down by all these different subcategories of how people search. So you can see here, we've got online auto insurance quotes. That's its own unique ad group. Online car insurance quote is its own unique ad group. Auto insurance quote is its own unique ad group. So we create ad groups based on whatever modifiers we're going after. And what that does is it helps us get higher click rates and a better interaction. And so what we do then is in the keywords, we'll start to look at the keywords and see which ones are performing best, which ones need to be put into the negative list. And so we'll tighten down those ad groups as we go, and you can do the exact same thing, or you can have us do it. And then when we talk about best performing text ads, and I forgot to take the question mark off that, my assistant had a question for me. So I'm using plumber ads here because it's just more of them that are set up this way. Insurance agents don't typically use all the toys Google gives them. So I thought I'd show you this. All of these ads that have images to them actually perform better. So when you look at their conversion metrics or their click-through rates, they perform better. Recently, one of our agents in Nebraska, I took her ad, I added her profile headshot to it, and it doubled her click-through rate just by having her picture on it. The other thing you'll notice is they start to match up to the types of things people would be searching for. Top rated local plumbing company, be the same thing. Top rated local insurance agent, a city search, Pittsburgh plumbing specialist. So you can apply these same things, local insurance agent, your city name, all of those things you can use. And then back to our landing page, we want to make sure we send them somewhere that is very easy to convert. We don't want to get them busy looking at other things. So if you'll notice up here, there are not links to the About Us page, the blog, the services page, any of that, because we've matched up the landing page to what it is we're trying to sell. We're trying to sell auto insurance. And so our wording, get the auto insurance coverage you need. And there's only two things you can do on this page. You can either click this phone number and call, or you can fill out a form to get a quote. That's all you do on this page. And so we want you to be thinking through simplicity with your landing pages. Keep it simple. What you're wanting out of that ad click is you want somebody to be your prospect. You want to get them into your CRM and your sales funnel. And so we need to ask them to do one of two things: fill out a form to get a quote, or give us a call. And we want to make it as easy as possible for those two things to happen. And so you want to land visitors on these landing pages. This is another variation that we use of the one you just looked at. So we have a blue one and a red one. Remember, I talked about you want to test things to see which performs better. I'll tell you from our field tests, the red one performs better. But there are some markets where this blue one actually performs better. Let's lay it out the same. Our life insurance campaigns, they're laid out the same. You can either come here, click the number, fill out the form. If you hit contact us, it's going to put you into the form. So we're giving you, without ever having to scroll, without ever having to click anywhere else, you have 3 different places on these pages where you can become a prospect and move from just a viewer of an ad who lands on the website or the web page. Now you become a prospect, you're in the CRM, or you're placing a phone call. And so that's what we want to do. So part of what we're trying to do in our ads is we want to match up to intent, because the intent is we want the person who's not window shopping, but the person who's got the credit card in hand ready to buy. And so that's who we're going to hunt for in our keywords, in our ad copy. And so if we've done a good job of that, when they land here, they're ready to take action. We just need to give them a place to do that. So here's some questions you want to ask your pay-per-click provider. How much of my budget will go to Google AdWords and my ad spend versus management fees? And when we talk about management fees, there's really two variations you find in the marketplace. There is flat rate, which is what we do. We just charge a flat rate. We manage the ads as part of that. The other version that you see quite often is it's a flat rate plus a percentage of ad spend. And that can be 10%, 15%. I've seen it as high as 30% of ad spend for managing campaigns. So that's one of the things you do want to check in is a percentage of what you're spending, is that being spent actually on management, or is that all going towards your ads? What type of tracking will you be putting in place? Do you use Google Ads call and web form conversion tracking, or do you use some other kind of tracking? How are you tracking those conversions? If you don't have conversions that pull into AdWords, that is going to put you at a major disadvantage versus your competition, because AdWords is going to solve for the conversion. So when they see that this type of traffic is converting, they are going to put more focus onto that type of traffic and those types of keywords and those types of ad groups. So your conversion tracking really feeds the machine. Are you going to be able to delineate and distinguish between your pay-per-click calls and your organic calls? How will you track key performance indicators? And are you going to be provided with a live dashboard that gives you that information? So one of the things we do for our clients is we have a 24-hour live dashboard, updates every 24 hours, so they can stay current on their KPIs. Key metrics. What's the average cost per lead generated? Will you be setting up specific landing page for each ad group, or will the traffic be directed to the home page? And if you are driving traffic to landing pages, how will those pages be optimized for conversion? Do you split test ads for each ad group? Meaning, do you try different variations? And will you be leveraging all of the ad extensions available to make my text ads stand out in the search results? And then what are our targets in terms of cost per lead or return on investment? I will tell you, across the board, our experience has been for auto insurance, those leads are running anywhere from about $25 up to around $40 per lead on pay-per-click campaigns in larger markets. And when I say larger market, if your market is over 500,000 people or more, that's going to be pretty consistent. If you're a major metropolitan area, that'll be pretty consistent. The higher end of the scale, obviously, is going to be the bigger metropolitan markets. So a little bit about us, what makes our campaigns a little better or different. We do split into strategic ad groups based on our own experience, our own data, what we see across the board. We do set up conversion optimized landing pages if your company allows that. If you're a captive agent and that's a no-no, obviously we have to go with what your company gives you. We do set up conversion optimization so that we can track calls, web form submissions, all of those types of things. And we import that into Google AdWords. Now, again, if you're a captive agent, we're a little limited there because we can't put all of the code and script into your landing pages like we can on an independent, but just know that's out there. You'll know exactly how many calls came via PPC versus your organic traffic. And we have recordings of those calls. You'll know which keywords within your AdWords campaign drove calls and at what cost. And then that makes it possible for us to optimize based on the keywords, and that results in calls and us not wasting money on terms that just aren't going to convert. And then for each ad group, we're going to set up multiple text ads, and we're going to rotate those based on what's converting best. Google is now doing that automatically. So that happens naturally. And then we provide you with a KPI dashboard so you can track what's happening with those campaigns. Service Titan doesn't apply in your industry, but it is something we work with other industries in. Takeaways, be sure and make any notes you have there. And then let's land the airplane with retargeting and automation and just a few closing thoughts. We got about 6 or 7 minutes here. So when we talk about retargeting and automation, there's a couple things we want to understand. Leads that are not followed up within 15 minutes go cold. And so this is where automation is really critical. If you've got that ability to send out an immediate email or text message when a lead comes in, ideally you want to do both. But if you can only do one or the other, even that's great. So what we're finding is anything after 15 minutes, they really do go cold. We're so bombarded with information, we want to strike while the iron's hot. The average customer is going to need to be followed up with 5 to 7 times before they actually schedule with you. And then today's consumer prefers to interact via text versus phone call or email. And so if you're allowed to by your compliance folks, text is a great way to be following up with your prospects. Most people will respond to that text. And then you want to maximize your outcomes with that retargeting. So what happens? Person visits your website or your landing page. That page is pixeled with some type of tracking pixel. Google has that. Facebook has that. Once they have filled out their information, they are now going to be retargeted. In that retargeting, they're going to see your ads in all sorts of places. They'll see it on their mobile device. They'll see it on the side banners on their mobile, on their desktop. They're going to see it on leaderboards, the 250 by 350 ads. They're just going to get retargeted in many places. Now, that's if we're using Google. As I said before, I prefer actually retargeting with Facebook. And the reason I like retargeting with Facebook is because people can interact with the ad. They can comment, they can like, they can share, they can tag somebody else. So there's a bit of a viral component that takes place when we retarget with Facebook, and that's why it's more of my preference. And then if you'd like to schedule a strategy session with us, we're available to do that. It's complimentary to you. We'll look at online visibility. We'll compile a keyword list for you. We'll show you where you're ranking currently. We'll look at online directory listings, your consistency there. Take a look at your social media, and we'll look at the conversion effectiveness of your website. So if you ever want to schedule one of those sessions, the website's there, agentbrandingandmarketing.com/schedule. And then there's our phone number as well. So wrapping up, any questions that anyone has, feel free to unmute yourself and I'll be happy to address those. All right, doesn't look like we have any questions, so I'm going to stop the recording. This recording will be available, should be in the next 36 hours. You can check our Facebook page or our YouTube channel. You'll see it there. And you'll also get an email letting you know when it's available. Thanks for coming out today and appreciate your time. I know that you're busy, and so I value the fact that you've entrusted me with an hour. Thank you.